I've been running pretty consistently over the last 5, 6 years, and within that time frame, I've ran three 100 milers, a couple 50 milers, a lot of marathons. In fact, one time with one of those 100 milers, I finished it, and then the next day ran a half marathon. It was a little challenge I had. So I do crazy shit like that all the time, and I'm just bringing this up to point out, despite all of that volume and everything I've done, I very rarely experience shin splints, ankle pain, runner's knee, back pain. And so I have three stretches that I believe reduce injuries, but I want to talk about injuries, and I'm putting injuries in quotes on purpose. So I'm not talking about tears, a broken bone, a fracture, that type of thing. What I believe is a big part of injuries in today's world when it comes to running is those injuries, or I'm just going to, call it pain, comes from a lack of flexibility or lack of strength. So, we know you need to be strong enough to run a marathon or even a 5K, right? So get in the gym, leg days, or some sort of exercise like biking, good cross training for building a little bit of strength, in my opinion. And then the lack of mobility or flexibility. And I want to talk about this, and then we'll get into those three stretches. So I'm a certified yoga teacher, and a big part of that certification was understanding how connected the body was and what attaches where. And I'm not the greatest with like the human body anatomy, but I think everyone can get on board with this concept. For example, if you have knee pain and your quad is incredibly tight, well, no shit, man. Like your quad is pulling on your knee in a bad way, right? And so there is something to be said about we want to be, have this kind of strength or tightness or really like security within our body. But I think you get that through running and strength training. It's not like you want your quad, like you can't even press your skin in, or it hurts to like rub your finger down your IT band. Like that's what I'm getting at. And so a lot of the stretches I'm going to cover, they focus on these main places that people often experience pain. And so the question I ask myself when I feel pain, or I finish a run and I'm worried and I'm thinking, do I need to take time off or reduce my volume? The question I ask myself is, what could I stretch that might be causing this, right? So easy example, the quad connected to the knee. But with these other exercises or stretches, I'm going to talk about some other different examples. So let's just get into it. Now, if you have an actual break or tear, like take care of that properly. Sometimes you do a good stretching session or you stretch it regularly and that pain goes away for forever, just like my runner's knee. So let's just start with that one because it's pretty simple, and then we'll build on it. My favorite quad stretch is either just standing and putting your ankle behind your back and pulling it in, right? Can't really show it with this setup. I guess I'll demonstrate all of these in a second. We'll talk about them first. So quad stretch, right? Super simple. I think that's good for the quad, obviously. Or you could sit on your ankles, which I think is awesome. It just might take some time to work up to that. I love that stretch because it really helps with the ankle. I believe this helps a ton with knee pain. Or even think about it, maybe hip pain, right? Because your quad, goes all the way up your leg. So it could be pulling on any direction depending on your body and how tight it is, right? So that's a very simple one that I think helps with runner's knee and those type of pains, as long as there's obviously not some sort of tear or fracture, whatever it might be. So I'm talking about from the perspective of you're just tight, that's why it hurts. So that's an easy one. I think we've all probably done that to some degree. I would just do that all the time. Great, effective quad stretch will hopefully help with any knee pain you have. The second I want to talk about is a hamstring stretch, but there's a little twist I'm going to put into it. So we've all tried to bend over and touch your toes, right? And doesn't really matter where you're at, and if you can touch your toes or whatever, you're still going to stretch out your hamstring as long as you're tilting your pelvis a little forward, which again, I'll demonstrate these all in a second. But the twist I put in with this is instead of both my feet parallel, I cross one foot over the other ankle. So I'm kind of in this cross-legged position. It looks kind of awkward. I'll show you in just a second. But it really emphasizes the IT band, which I think is another big part of people's runner's knee or injuries or pain they experience in their body after or during a run. It's like your IT band is probably incredibly tight as is, and then you throw running on it and you don't stretch. That's a recipe for pain or some sort of injury that starts to concern you. So when I show that, I'll point out some things, but I really like that in particular because I get a stretch of my IT band like no other. So it might be different for you. But at least for me, I can touch my toes. When I cross that leg over, really starts to feel it more in the side of my leg or around the IT band. And then the third one I want to talk about is just a simple calf stretch. This in particular is something I like, and you could build your own, so you don't have to spend money on this, right? But I like this little, it's a little, it's at an angle, whatever that is, right? So your foot goes on top of this blue part, you put it up against a wall, and then you just stretch out your calf. This one in particular has a couple different settings, and I've used it a lot, so I'm pretty flexible, and then you just kind of drive your hips forward towards the wall, which will deepen the stretch. My uncle built it out of like a 2x4 or whatever, right? So he built his own. So you can do that yourself, and you don't need to spend money on this fancy looking thing. So I think, this is called Calf Pro. I got it a year or so ago. I really like it. It's just easy to pull it out during a stretching session. Instead of what I've done a lot and is kind of awkward is you don't have this angle, and so you just kind of put your toes against the wall and try and lean in, but your foot slips or you just can't get a deep stretch. With this, it's built in for you. You just step on it and drive your hips forward. So if you give me a second, I hate editing, so I'm just going to turn my camera. Hopefully you can kind of see the stretches I'm demonstrating. There's my room, there's my dog. But let's just go through those really quick. So, quad stretch, right? This is what I was talking about. You just grab your ankle. I think this is really good for your quads, or you can sit on your ankles. Or what I like to do is I stretch it like that, and then I grab my opposite hand, opposite hand to opposite ankle. This also stretches the IT band a little bit more. And then the hamstring stretch, right? So, hands to toes, and then let's see if I can. Hands to toes. And then what I was saying is you cross over your ankle. Like ankles cross over your feet. It's kind of awkward to look at. But then when you go to your toes now, I definitely get an IT band stretch on the back leg, which I think is super helpful. And then I don't think I have to demonstrate that calf exercise, but I think those three exercises are probably some of the best you can do to reduce any sort of injury. And obviously there's other ones. But I think if you just did those after every single run, right, or you had a more intense stretching session, you're going to reduce your risk of injury in general, like an actual tear or a break or something like that. But you're also just going to feel good and experience less pain. And so when I talk about stretching with people, people use the excuse if I'm too busy and I don't have enough time. And I can empathize with that, especially if you're a parent or single parent or you work 3 jobs to provide for your family. I respect that. I think it's just one of those things that you can't not make the time for. And so here's my suggestion. If you're bad at stretching, here's what I would do. After every single run, you plan for 5 to 7 minutes of stretching. So if you run 4 days a week, 3 days a week, you get around 15 to 30 minutes of stretching, depending on how long you stretch for. I like this in particular. I do this after every single run. I like this in particular because you are already warm. So one of the things with yoga is you have to warm up because you don't want to hurt yourself stretching into cold muscles or tendons. And so you're already warm from your run, and so you can just jump straight into stretching. And then I find that it also helps me reduce my tightness throughout the day if I stretch right after. Because you could run and then stretch in the evening. I do that sometimes too. But I like doing it right when my muscles are warm. And if you're like, well, I don't have the time, I'm literally back to back, I have to hop in the shower, drive to work. Okay, get up earlier. Or what you can do is just reduce your volume by half a mile or even a mile. I would much prefer people run just a little bit less, but make the time for stretching than be impressive with, I can do this 50 mile, 70 mile, 100 mile week. Like, that's amazing. It's just when you're doing that kind of volume, you probably need more stretching more than anyone, in my opinion, right? So I know some people say stretching doesn't work for them, and if they don't experience injuries and pain and runner's knee and shin splints, awesome. Then keep doing you. I don't want to fix something that's not broken. A lot of runners I talk to experience these pains, and it could be fixed for the most part by stretching, in my opinion. So hopefully you got something out of that video. If you like running, then I guess this channel, that's what it's about. It's just I'm trying to help people learn from my mistakes. I've made a lot of them running. I've dealt with injuries. I've bombed races, right? So I'm trying to help people with that, and I'm always open to, if you leave a comment or a question, making a whole video on that topic if I can, and I have the knowledge to do so. So I hope you got something out of this video, and I hope I get to see you in another video sometime soon. Peace.